Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry, and today's video we're talking about datamine cards. I always love talking about what potentially is on the horizon in Marvel Snap, that new fresh content, even if we can't play with it right away because it's so expensive. But still, we still like to talk about it, speculate if it's going to be good or not in the meta. Now, these cards, we don't know when they're going to come out. We don't even know if they are going to be in their current edition as we know it. They could change later down the line. And not only could the cards change, but the meta could change and everything could be different about Snap as we know it. But it is still fun to speculate about these cards and have a look at what they might be. So, spoilers ahead. If you don't want to be spoiled about upcoming content in Marvel Snap, potential upcoming content that is, then turn away now. But if you're interested in my top 5 predicted cards that I think will impact the meta most from what we currently have data mined, then let's get to it. Number 5, Ghost Spider. All right, this might be a bit of a weird one to a lot of people, but I actually think this might be what Move needs to get going, to actually be competitive. It might need a little bit more, but I think this is a really big step in the right direction. So it's a 2/2 Ghost Spider. Looks amazing. Look at all the variants, by the way. There's 8 variants. I was gotta say, the card's coming soon, right? They keep adding variants for this card. My goodness, such incredible artwork. I love this character too. So on reveal, move the last card you played here. Right? So it's like reverse Cloak almost, because Cloak allows you to move cards the following turn. This is going to move whatever you played last turn. So to give context to this, a nice little easy combo is if you play Human Torch on 1 and then you play Ghost Spider on 2 at a different location, you are then going to move the Human Torch that you played on the prior turn to the Ghost Spider location, thus buffing the Human Torch because it doubles its power every time it moves, and it becomes 4 power. Happy days. So it's another activator for move decks, right? There's already stuff like Doctor Strange, which is a bit conditional and tough to pull off. Also a tad expensive, right? Cloak, which is probably one of the best because it has good power output. It's mutual, but usually your opponent doesn't care to move things, so it's not too bad. You get more benefit out of that. And then there's other stuff like Heimdall, but that's a little bit predictable, and it's your big turn 6, so not always the best. I feel like Ghost Spider is a nice, cheap option to move a target card. You play Vulture on 3, you Ghost Spider on 4. You play your Dagger on 2, you Ghost Spider on 3. It's just easy ways to move these cards and move them in the location that you want. I think it'd be really neat as well if you added bounce to this. Maybe like Beast back Ghost Spider with the Human Torch because you just moved them both last turn and then you just whip out that combo again. My goodness, that's pretty good. Also, I keep referencing as in the following turn. It doesn't even need to be the following turn. It can happen in the same turn. You can play the Human Torch and then play Ghost Spider. It's going to move that torch. So it's not locked into turns. It's just whatever the last card was that you played. And maybe it doesn't even break into the move decks. Maybe there's a world where this exists as just a nice movement option to bait your opponents into thinking you have power there, and then all of a sudden you move it elsewhere. I could see it as like you play a Devil Dino, and then on turn 6, your opponent is thinking, I'm going to Enchantress that Dino, but then you Ghost Spider, and boom, the Dino dodges the Enchantress. There's all kinds of crazy combos. Another Shang-Chi, like getting around that. There's all kinds of great ways this could happen, but you got to make sure you have priority for that to work. But anyways, I think Ghost Spider is going to actually have a bigger impact on the meta than at first glance. And I also just really want move decks to be back in the meta. So, you know, here we got Jumping Spiders. It's got the Morales, right? Because you move a card with Ghost Spider. Morales is cheap. You throw out the Morales. You still got the normal Heimdall shenanigans and all that buffing stuff. But maybe, just maybe, the Ghost Spider gives that extra move to give that extra power and that extra nudge that move decks need. But honestly, like I was saying before, I think Ghost Spider ends up just getting teched into decks to dodge counters, which is kind of nice. Number 4, the Black Knight. All right, the Black Knight is kind of cracked. If you play a lot of destroy decks, you're going to understand quickly why. It's a 1/2, normal stat line for a 1-drop, but then when this is destroyed, draw a card. If you're playing a destroy deck, you want to destroy things. In fact, you want to destroy 1 cost, because 1, they're nice and cheap and easy to play, right? But 2, there's Killmonger. And then also Carnage, and it's easier to play those things and eat them up with those other destroy cards. So it just works beautifully. And in a card game, if you can get to those combos quicker, then you're going to be really well off, especially in Marvel Snap where there's only 12 cards in a deck. So if you can destroy the Black Knight, draw a card, and then make sure that you get to those combos, oh my gosh, it's going to be nuts. Imagine like Death and Moon Girl are going to be that much more consistent, which is why I got them in this deck list here. So you already got the Killmonger to destroy the things. You got Hood to get destroyed, Squirrel Girl, Yondu undo is going to also trigger a destroy. Boom, our death is going to be cheap in no time, maybe even 0. So then on turn 4 or 5, doesn't really matter all that much. I'm going to play Moon Girl, get 2 deaths, and play them both. And already what's pretty good in this deck list is She-Hulk. So like I feel like it all just works really, really nicely. I'm emitting Arrow, which is a really strong card in this deck list, and maybe there's a room or spot that you could take out a card and put Arrow in, but my goodness, the power would be through the roofs, and the consistency that Black Knight is going to provide is nuts. Now those variants on the side, I made those are not real, just mind you. He doesn't have any variants, so it's very likely that this card could change. I think you can kind of tell that a card's going to be coming out soon or something like that if they keep adding more variants into the game. But anyways, there's not too much to dive into here. It's just a crazy card. If you can draw cards while still doing your typical regular strategy of the deck, then it's an easy auto include. I think you see Black Knight in every destroy deck when it's released. So I'm pretty excited about this one. Number 3, Hitmonkey. All right, so Hitmonkey is absolutely insane. I've talked about this card before. I used to actually have a top 5 anticipated datamines list, but some of those cards came out, so I wanted to do it again. Hitmonkey was on the last one and still makes it here again because I can't wait for this card. Those variants are real, by the way. So it's a 2/0 on reveal, gain +3 power for each other card you played this turn. That's insane, dude. There's all kinds of combos, and I thought maybe Mr. Negative would be wild because you want to do the flipping anyways. They become a bunch of 0 cost things, then you Jane Foster, get all those 0 costs like your Iron Man, your Arnim Zola, or whatever else. Hitmonkey himself becomes a 0/2 with +3 potential for every card that you play that turn. Crazy, just crazy. Gotta make sure Hitmonkey's the last one because I'm pretty sure it's going to do the check. Well, maybe not. Maybe it would register the check based on the face down cards, so maybe you're fine there. But anyways, crazy power totals. Easily you could get this to like 15 power, right? If you flip enough things with this deck. I could imagine even another world where you play a Sarah deck, right? I just did a video recently on a value Sarah deck where you discard a bunch of cards and you play them all in turn 6 if you can Sarah on 5. That's great. So you have a bunch of 2 drops, right? They become 1 because of Sarah, and then you play a bunch of them, and it's nice and cheap. Hitmonkey himself becomes a 1. So then essentially, if you just happen to have the cards available in your hand, you play 5 other 2 drops that are now 1 drops with Hitmonkey, and then bam, 15 power. It's crazy. Theoretically, if you have Hitmonkey in the hand and you play 6 other cards, the max amount of power that you can get on this little bananas crazy monkey friend is going to be 18. 18 power. And then maybe even to flip it with negative, you could get it to 20. That's a 0/20 power card. Nuts. Cracked. Obviously, these are dream scenarios. Not going to happen every time. Not very consistent. But I think Hitmonkey getting to at least 6 power is consistent. And you got yourself a 2/6. That's good value. I think that gets run a lot. Maybe you got to build a deck for it, but it works pretty well. We already have those deck lists that try to play a lot of things, right? So you could work that with Bishop. So another one I thought I was thinking was Mysterio. Mysterio, the clones count as a played card, each one. That's 3 cards right there for 2. That's insane. That's 9 power for Hitmonkey here. Oh my gosh, this card's going to be crazy, crazy. Obviously it gets Cosmo wrecked and then it's 0 power, but still, that's like a lot of cards in the game. So I'm excited for the Hitmonkey. I really want this card to come soon. It might be broken, honestly. I think it should probably be 2 power. It's giving me Silver Surfer vibes, right? So if it was 2 power, you play 3 cards, it's a 2/6. Good value. You play 2 cards, you get 4 power. That's like a premium stat 2-drop, right? So you play 1 and it's a 2/2, and even that's not all like that bad in dire situations. So I feel like they're going to change maybe the power output of this card based on their lessons they learned with Silver Surfer. But for now, Hitmonkey is cracked. I'm excited for it. Number 2, Jean Grey. Oh man, Jean Grey, I almost put her at number 1. She's not like the flashiest card, but I think it's going to steal wins and it's going to be frustrating. Gives me vibes of the Spider-Man Absorbing Man combo, right? But now we got Jean Grey Absorbing Man. Force your opponent to play in one lane. Spider-Man was locking you out of one lane, you can play at the other 2. And then maybe if you got double Spidey, then it's not very fun and you can only play at 1. Well, how about a card that just straight up makes you play at 1 location? And it says, if possible. I didn't even talk about the cards. 3/3, on reveal, the next card your opponent plays must be played here if possible. I imagine, the way I interpret this text. If it's not possible for your opponent to play a card there, they just don't play cards. That's the way I see this. So it could be overwrite the ability if it's not possible for your opponent. So for instance, if I was to storm a location and on the following turn I played Jean Grey there, right? Seems like a really nasty combo because then your opponent can only play at the flooded location, which means you can't play cards there, and they're kind of screwed. They just lost a turn. If we interpret the text as if possible means that if it's not possible, your opponent can play wherever they want and Jean Grey basically does nothing, well, then that's not a very good combo. But if it's the way I think it's worded and it's just, nice job, you set up a nice combo, they're screwed, well, this is pretty cracked. This is pretty good because you could do that on turn 4, you play Storm, turn 5, you Jean Grey, turn 6, your opponent cannot do anything and you can just figure out ways to win at the other 2. Obviously not the flooded, but the other 2 locations are free game. So that was the first combo I thought of. The other combo was Absorbing Man. Force your opponent to play at one place and then make them do it again. And then you can run like Shang-Chi or even like Enchantress or whatever, all those counters that you want to play or whatever else. Boom, you smack them after you lock them into one location. My goodness, it'd be so good. And then you got the Professor X as well because it's almost like pseudo Daredevil where you know your opponent's going to play. So you can just Professor X off of it and not worry about them putting a lot of power there. Holy smokes, I feel like there are so many nasty combos with this card. It is going to be straight into the meta. It's going to find a bunch of decks. This is a card, in my eyes, that is worth 6K tokens. I snap on this card in the shop if I see this popping up. If we get Jean Grey soon, I'm gobbling it up. Also, the Art Germ variant in the top there. Oh, so good. Number 1, the Living Tribunal. All right, so the last time I did this video, I had Null as my number 1. And Galactus, I think, was number 2. And Tribunal was number 3. So I know you're in my collection. You're like this silhouette, like just waiting to be released. But no, you're not here yet. We thought maybe February. We think maybe March. Doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon, but it'd be pretty hype. Anyways, 6-4. At the end of the game, split your total power evenly among all locations. So this is number 1 because I think it completely changes the game in the sense that kind of Galactus did, right? Galactus comes out, it's just not very accessible to players. That's why it's not such a big problem. But basically, my thinking with Galactus is if your opponent is running a certain deck, there's a few cards that are given a bit of a tell, and then they have a location open, you have to be concerned about Galactus. You have to adapt your play because Galactus might drop. I think the Tribunal does the same thing. Your opponent starts stacking at one location. They got the Iron Man, the Onslaught, the Omega Red, or whatever else. Obviously, you have the cheat out Onslaught with Wave, Electro, etc. But then you got to be like thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to Living Tribunal me with that like 60, 80 power location. That's going to get split up. So if it's 60, right, that's going to be 20 at each location. And I got to be aware of that. Are my locations covering that amount of power? Did I just Professor X a location that has 10 power? That sucks. Am I trying to do like some shenanigans where like I Spider-Man the location, they can't play there, and I think I'm smart, blah, 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 so I'm just going to leave it and I'm going to win with 3 power? No, that's not going to work because Living Tribunal is going to split that power across the sea of locations and win the game. So I think it's going to be a total game changer. You got to be aware of this card, and it's so cool. Dude, look at the variants too. Oh my gosh. All of them are good to me. The Chibi, the Pixel, the Dan Hip. The one at the bottom probably is like the coolest, I think. It's just really intimidating. He's got the zappy eyes, but he's got so many zappy eyes. Oh man, I'm here for this card. I want it ASAP in the game. It looks so much fun. And this is just one crazy combo that you can put together. I can imagine like even like a destroy thing where you get a bunch of deaths or whatever, null, make your null big. Doesn't really work with Galactus. Obviously you want some locations for this to work. It's like the opposite. If Galactus trumps this, it's like rock, paper, scissors. Well, Galactus over Living Tribunal. Cosmo over Galactus. Tribunal over Cosmo. Maybe? There you go. I don't know how the dog got thrown in with these godly characters, but there you go. Cosmo makes the cut. So anyways, I think this is pretty nuts. It looks really cool. I can't wait for this card. I've been excited about it for so long. We've known about this since beta. They've had it in the game that long. They just haven't released it yet or announced when they're going to release it. So I'm hoping soon. By the way, guys, it's really interesting. There's not as many data mines anymore. They don't seem to pop up as frequently, or maybe they're not inputting the data because we talk about it too much. But it's fun to talk about. And if it's there, it's there. And I'm going to let you guys know about it. But I got some honorable mentions as well. All right, honorable mentions. Going over them really quickly. We got Bullseye, a 1/2 on reveal. The next card you draw will be a 2-cost card if any are left. This is called tutoring in card games. It means you draw a specific card. So you build your deck to only have a few really important 2 costs that you want to draw. And then bam, Bullseye's going to help you out. Think about like a Hela deck and you want to get that Invisible Woman, right? So that you can protect your Hela and everything else. Well, then bam, you just throw in Bullseye. Hopefully you draw it sooner than later. But you know what? If you draw the 2-drop, that's fine too because you wanted it anyways. Just a way of getting a specific card out of the deck. It's a 1/2, which is a good stat line, and draws a card. This is just a win of a card. It's going to be meta. Silver Samurai. So I was going to put this in as well because I put the Black Knight, but I think the Destroy package actually just naturally does a little bit better by destroying. It helps the synergy. Whereas Silver Samurai, the same thing. When this is discarded from your hand, draw a card. You don't have the consistency of knowing, I'm going to discard Silver Samurai, unless it's with Clean Wing. That's a nice 1/2 combo, make sure that Silver Samurai is the lowest cost thing. But I feel like more often than not, it'll be a little bit more tricky to pull off, but still really, really good. That's why it's here. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is going to be insane. This might be coming next month. We will see, but it's a 3/2. When any card is played here, destroy this and that card, which is crazy for control purposes because now your opponent can't really play something there without getting destroyed unless they're running armor or something. And for your own destroy package services, if you want to play something there like Bucky Barnes, and it's an easy 2 destroys for your death discounts, and you got the Winter Soldier out. So it's just like all around a really strong card for the destroy archetype and just control in general. And then Miss Marvel is crazy. I don't think this card is going to come out this way. That's why I didn't even put it in the top 5. A 3/4 ongoing. If this is your only card here, adjacent locations have +5 power. It's similar to Orca and Namor, how they get +5 power, except Miss Marvel is giving it to other locations, which is just so much better, right? Because that means I just emit one location. It's going to be the Marvel location. Miss Marvel is going to chill there. And the other 2 are we're going to stack my power. Now, like Central Park could ruin my happy days here, or like anything my opponent gives me, like rocks and whatever, if they're going to be mean like that. But hey, I think more often than not, this is going to be a 3/14. Orca is crying. So anyway, I thought it's just crazy, but I expect that to be changed. That's too much power. And then Mephisto. 6-0. If you win this game, double your winnings. Is that going to be meta? No, probably not. But I wanted to put it in here because it's so crazy, so much fun. You can Mr. Negative flip this, and that's 6 power for 0. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Work that with your hit monkey, and then you just got this high rolling, high gambling deck to double your winnings. I think that'd be really fun. I don't think they're going to actually put this in the game, though. I don't know. It breaks the boundary of Snap. It's not about the game now. It's about affecting my rank. I don't know if that's a healthy thing for the game, but it's funny. It's funny. I'd like to see it in the game. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about these cards below. Comment maybe one that you really like out of the datamine pool that I didn't spotlight here, or maybe some crazy combos with these cards. I want to hear it. Okay. So thank you as always for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.